What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Round 2 podcast. My name is Nikki, and I am super excited to have a longtime friend here with me. We both grew up in the same small town, and he is a very successful business owner in the greater area. Adrian Blanco from Adrian Blanco Jewelry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for
It's
being here.
exciting.
Good morning.
And congrats on your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been very fun, and I appreciate people like you willing to give their time and share their story and talk about their life and where they started and where they are now. So, why don't you just dive right
Absolutely.
in? Tell me about how you ended up in the jewelry business.
Well, as you mentioned, you and I grew up in the beautiful town of Davis, California.
You did.
I immigrated in this country when we were in junior high. Go Emerson! And as I got into high school, I've always had this thing. I don't know why, but I didn't want the traditional, typical high school job of flipping burgers or the
Making pizza?
delivering paper.
Yeah.
So even my very first job, I worked for Strelitzia. It's still
Okay.
around, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, they
Learn how
are.
to become a florist, and so that's not typical for a 15-year-old. So as I grew up and started driving and stuff like that, I just always had this thing of being doing something other than what the typical traditional high school jobs are. So there was a job opening at the local jewelry store called De Luna Jewelers,
Yeah.
which that's where I met your folks, and
Yeah.
and I was there for 15 years. I started my senior year of high school.
Uh-huh.
I became an apprentice right away. Mr. Luna and Mrs. Luna took me under their wings, and literally every facet of that business I did, from being a bench jeweler, an engraver, an appraiser, eventually managing the business for them.
That's so cool. I love that there was even that you even had kind of like the wherewithal to look and find jobs outside of the norm. I mean, I remember my first job when I turned 15, I was working at Steve's Pizza, and it was honestly like it was kind of like a high school party working there
Yep.
because so many people and so many of my friends worked there too. And then there was like the college kids that worked there that were the pizza delivery drivers. And so it was work, but it was also really fun. But
Yep.
it was just so like logical for me to go and do that because I already had friends who were working there. And then you were like, let's see what else is out there. And you find this job at a jewelry store that I'm sure 18-year-old you didn't think, oh, this is going to be my career path. And
Absolutely not. Well, so in high school, right? My senior year. I was the president of the Future Business Leaders of America. It's kind of where you prepare kids about the real world. As simple as filling out a job application, a resume, how to dress up properly in an interview. That's
yeah.
exactly what I did. I showed up after school, suited up, and Mr. Luna gave me a job within 10 minutes
Oh, I
into the
love it.
interview. Later on, I was in charge of shredding all the application. I'm like, wow, there's like almost 70 applicants here. So
Wow.
it was pretty cool knowing that, because I came prepared.
Yep.
I was ready to, work that day, and I answered the questions properly, and we just
Mhm.
had a good rapport. So I always, when I give talks to local schools, it's all about first impression. It
Yep.
truly lasts forever.
It really does. My dad has a saying, the 6 P's, and it's prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And
That's right.
but it's like so true. It's so true to even when you're young and you're going to apply for a job that's like, an entry level job, whether it's a coffee shop or a burger joint or a pizza place or even you, it's like you're still a high school kid going and applying for this job in a jewelry store. Just taking that little bit of time to come prepared, to dress nicely, to understand their business to the best of your ability, it goes a long way. I mean, I also coach younger kids on stuff like this. And
Yep.
there's a young college gal, and I was speaking with her, and she was like, well, I'm going to interview at this coffee shop. And I said, okay. I said, well, check out their Instagram, like see what kind of like drinks they make.
That's right.
What are they known for? Why do people like them? And she was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. And they ended up offering her a job. And I was like, you went in prepared and you looked nice. You didn't have to wear a business suit for a coffee shop job. But I was like, don't go in a crop top.
Well, that's what it was. I talked to Priscilla later on, and he goes, "Yeah, people came in here with their boyfriend or girlfriend,
Yeah.
But you can't really blame a high school kid if you're not prepped for it. How are you gonna
Exactly.
know? So, fast forward, I worked with him for 15 years. At some point, you got to move out of mom and dad's house, right? You
Yeah.
got to grow a little bit. And I think Mr. Luna saw that in me, that I was ready to move on. And at this point, I was already married. I had 2 kids. And instead of jumping in and opening up my own business right away, I went the corporate route because I've always
Hmm.
been a mom and pop shop
Hmm.
guy. And my wife encouraged me to do that. She has her
Yeah.
master's in management, so I should listen to her, right? She's a lot smarter than me. But it's great. It was a good experience for me working for Signet, which they own Jared's,
Yep.
and I was a manager there as well. I got to learn the corporate style of doing business, but I think ultimately it really boiled down to I had to follow my heart, and I love the jewelry industry. At this point, I've already graduated some classes through the Gemological Institute of America, and
Hmm.
I wanted to use more of that.
Sure.
And instead of just focusing on just selling, I really am a relationship kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to build that relationship. I wanted you to come in for your engagement ring, and then eventually me selling you your anniversary and push
Yeah.
presents. And the only way to truly do that genuinely, in my opinion, is being in the independent
Hmm.
jewelry store route. So
Yeah.
here we are, 7 years later, here in Folsom, California, thriving really well.
No, I love that. And I think that it was such a good move for you to give that corporate route a try. I mean, I think in so many aspects of business, like I was at Intel for almost 12 years, and then I went to a small company that's like that was a well-established startup, right? It was 10, I think 10, almost 10 years old by the time I got there. But it's like I have that contrast of, okay, this is like a big worldwide corporate giant. I understand the inner workings of that. And then going to work for a smaller company and now being in this entrepreneurship world where I've been going through a program and really understanding the startup side of things. It's nice to have all of those different experiences. So for
Absolutely.
you, it's like you can really lean on everything you learned at DeLuna, everything you learned at Jared, and then kind of like what you've done is like craft your own business it's your brand. I mean, everybody knows you. Like I tell you this all the time, but I cannot literally meet a person in the Folsom area, no matter from which aspect of my life. And I happen to mention you every time, and they're like, "Oh, Adrian, I know him. He's the best." And you're like, "You're right, he is."
Well, when I started in the industry, I didn't have the war chest that most businesses have, meaning money.
Mm,
Literally, I open up. I think being in the industry for as long as I have, when I open up my business, it was really beneficial that I've met so many people along the way
hmm.
that when I needed merchandise, I actually didn't have to purchase anything.
Oh,
So my grand opening, I had 4 jewelers, designers from all over the United States that known me since I was 18, knew
uh-huh.
me as Dick Luna's boy,
Yeah.
and Mr. Luna said, approach these guys and see if they can help you out. And honestly, my grand opening had over $2 million in inventory.
Wow. That
So it
was going to be
made
one of my
me,
questions
oh
about,
yeah, it made me
you
really
know,
look legitimate. Like I'm
yeah.
not a fly by night business. I'm here to stay.
Uh-huh.
And this community has truly been amazing from day one. I attached myself instantaneously with the local chamber of commerce,
Hmm.
and I'm in Rotary, that.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of stuff for the community. So what I mean by not having enough war chest, I couldn't afford to put a big billboard on Highway 50,
Hmm.
but I could donate to every local schools or local events that's going on in the community, and
Hmm.
that's been honestly, that's how I built the foundation of what the Adrian Blanco jewelry brand is today.
Well, it's
And
putting your name out there too in a way that's like a warm and fuzzy way. You're not asking for anything. You're going and saying, "Here, let me support you. Let me support you." And then you're getting that name recognition and people are getting to know you as someone who wants to support what they're doing versus
yep,
coming in and asking or trying to sell them on something,
for a
which
business, it's easy for us to write checks
Mhm.
and donate something, but it's a showing up. It's the shaking hands. It truly is building that relationship
Mhm.
that I think makes a big difference. And I've tested this. There's events that I've given a donation to, and then there's events that I don't show up to, and then
Hmm.
there's ones that I do show up. And man, like night and day, it's like I would say the ROI is almost 40% difference.
Wow.
So
That's
it
fantastic.
really, so I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how do I bottle whatever this brand is
Yeah.
and put it out there.
No, it's so great. I mean, going back to what you said about your opening, because that was one of the things I was thinking about is how did you, jewelry is not inexpensive, right? It's not like, oh, I can go and spend $5,000 and have a fully stocked store. So my question was going to be, how did you start out? Because, knowing that jewelry is not an inexpensive, endeavor, and feeling like being able to represent yourself, saying like, hey, look, I have so many options, I have these great brands, I have all these things that are available. So now learning that it's because of your relationships that people trusted you, they believed in you enough to, is it essentially a consignment situation?
It is. In our industry, we call it a memo.
Okay.
So versus me leveraging whatever funds I have to buy merchandise, having to sell that, the fact that most of my items at that time were memoed to me,
Okay.
the when customers came to me, it was all about relationship building. It wasn't about, let me tell you something.
Right.
I've really embraced the whole idea that when you come into my store, it's about, Nikki, what do you want? How can I help you?
Hmm.
Versus trying to, hey, let me show you the latest diamond necklace that I have here.
Right.
With hope with
Right.
you purchasing it, there's no pressure,
Hmm.
and vice versa. Since I was starting out, those vendors were not pressuring me either. They just said, hey,
Okay.
I'll let you have this for 120 days.
Uh-huh.
Report to me what you sell after that, and it worked out so well. But that was the beginning of me figuring out, well, who is Adrian Blanco Jewelry?
Hmm.
Aside from just your local friendly jeweler, like what are we about? And I
Yeah.
think that's how my company has grown. That's when we get recommendation, that's what our customers convey to other people through referral.
Hmm.
They're not there. There's no pressure there. They're there to help you, and we're really proud of that because
Yeah, you
it
should
doesn't
be. I
matter if
mean,
it's me or my colleagues, my teammates. That is how we conduct business.
no, I think that that's wonderful, and that's how, and you should be proud of that because you think about jewelry, like I've said already a few times now, like it's not inexpensive, right? And usually jewelry is very meaningful, and so it's like you want somebody that you can trust to go to, not only to buy something and feel like you're not being like sold, and to feel like you can take it back there and get it cleaned or get it redesigned or whatever it may be. I mean, I know I've referred people to you. I mean, you're the only person
Yes,
that
you
changed my
have. I
jewelry.
appreciate you.
Well, of course. But I mean, that's the thing is like, because people want to feel like comfortable when they walk in, especially if you're going to be, number one, if you're going to be buying something, you want to feel like you're getting like a good value and you want to feel like you're not being sold. But then number two, because so much of jewelry, like you and I experienced together with some of my jewelry, like I was giving it to you to recreate something new for me. So it's like you want
Repurposing.
that level of trust as well, knowing that like, hey, I'm going to give him this beautiful diamond and I'm going to get that diamond back. It's not going to be
Yep.
swapped out. You hear
Yep.
like horror stories where someone's like, oh, I took my, you know,
Unfortunately, it happens. It happens,
yeah.
whether it's intentional or not. It happens, and that's why it truly is a trust sensitive business. Like as you mentioned, you're bringing in your prized possession. People bring us heirloom pieces,
Hmm.
and it's they just have to trust us. It's funny, people will bring me a diamond, and they'll always ask, like, hey, is this am I gonna get the same diamond back? And I just jokingly, and I'm serious when I say this too, like there's no diamond big enough for me to jeopardize our name, our reputation.
Right, right.
There just isn't. I mean, we all live in this town. I belong to the chamber. I'm involved with law enforcement,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean, come on, but
No,
it's so
that's so
funny.
true.
It makes me laugh. So that's why there's a saying, right? And I learned this from Mr. Luna. He used to say this to all our customers: if you don't know your jewelry, know your jeweler.
Right?
Luckily, the town knows
Exactly.
who we are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a very trustworthy, you guys are incredibly trustworthy, which is, what makes people want to come back and makes people want to refer you business and makes people want to, you know, leave their prized possessions behind to get cleaned or reworked or whatever it may be. So,
Absolutely. And we won 2 years ago. I won the Folsom Champion Award,
mhm,
and the same year, the Assembly District named us Small Business of the Year.
nice.
So I'm really, I'm just really happy with what we've built here. People are recognizing that, and I hope that we can continue doing this and open up a few more stores.
Oh my gosh, that would be unbelievable. So from an entrepreneurship perspective, at running your own business, there's so much that's goes on in the back end, right? You're not just responsible for being the face, being the brand, making the relationships. There's so much that goes on the backside to make the business run, to have employees, to all of the different things that you have to manage. How do you balance your time between your, again, like being in the front of the store, being the face when people walk in, and then all of the other things that a business owner has to do?
What balance? What does that mean?
Yeah, yeah, and not to mention
I
doing
was finding Yelp reviews or Yelp inquiries at 3 a.m. in the morning.
I mean, right? And
It's
then not
not
to mention
stop.
your like involvement in the community. You have 3 children who are active in sports. I mean, it's definitely a balancing act,
It
whether
is.
or not it feels like it, right?
The problem, so I think for a company to grow, and I learned this early on in my career, when Mr. Luna, you know, you know, Dick Luna really mentored me,
Mhm.
took me under his wings, and as I was having more of an important role in this business as a manager, he was doing less and less. Like he wasn't doing as many community events. I was
Oh,
kind of put into that role.
uh-huh.
So now, but and I realized earlier that really is important. If you're trying to build your brand, you got to be out there.
Yeah.
So it was to the point at some, when people thought of De Luna Jewelers, they thought Adrian Blanco, which
Hmm.
was kind of, it's pretty awesome, as a young jeweler to get that type of recognition and accolades.
Yeah.
So fast forward to my store, what I do now, you mentioned balancing. It's really important for me that I surround myself with amazing talent, and that's
Mhm.
literally what we have here. My colleagues, my managers are all amazing. It's to the point now that the Yelp reviews or Google reviews are about them
That's
versus me.
great. Uh-huh.
I think for a company to grow, especially when you have a business name after you,
Hmm.
you as a business owner, you got to learn how to let go a little bit, because
Yeah.
there are some business owners there that want to control everything 100%.
Hmm.
You got to be able to trust the people
Yeah.
that work for you. You gotta you have to let them make mistakes, and
Hmm.
eventually, and then later on correct it. Right?
Hmm.
You have to allow them to do that. I I tell my managers, hey, you make the call.
Hmm.
If I have an issue with it, you and I can deal with it. But I'm empowering you to
Hmm.
make the call when it comes to whether it be a customer service issue, whether it be having to give a discount that is beyond what I normally would do.
Hmm.
I I'm sure there's a reason I trust him to do that. I think
Hmm.
that's the only way you're able to do it. I mean, for the first time last summer, I was able to take a vacation, go
Oh, that's
to go to
great.
Hawaii,
Uh-huh.
and not have to turn on my phone.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big deal. The
It's a
problem
huge
with
deal.
well, for entrepreneurship, right? Anyone that wants to be an entrepreneur, um, when you like, I had to this, I couldn't work for the bench anymore. So
Hmm.
early on when I opened up the store, I said I have to hire a jeweler,
Hmm.
and now you met Joe the jeweler here, who's
Yeah.
amazing,
He's great.
and Joe runs the shop.
Hmm.
And as my team grew, I had to bring in that manager.
Hmm.
As a business owner, your mindset it just has to change. You have to
Yeah.
think like an owner. What does an owner of a corporation do?
Yeah.
Going out there, making connections, driving traffic into through these doors.
Hmm.
So It's yeah, it's absolutely, it's a balancing act. I mean, I come to work sometimes. Um, you've seen my building. We're
Yeah.
not your traditional storefront. It's an old house,
Uh-huh.
1,700 square foot. We're in a half an acre lot with my parking lot, but I have
Yeah.
a beautiful agave garden outside. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I have to be a gardener once a week
Yeah.
to pick weeds. I don't have to mow the lawn or anything,
Yeah.
but you know, I clean the toilet. I'm
Yeah.
still a janitor.
Uh-huh.
You are everything. As an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, you got to do everything, and that's what you sign up for.
Yeah. I love
People
that.
that think that, oh my god, I want to be a business owner so I can control my time. I'm laughing at them right now.
I know, it's so funny because one one of the other I call them like Jim Corbett isms. My dad has, throughout the course of my life, there are just like certain things that he's said over and over and over that just echo in my head at different times. And one of the things that he said is that, like, it can be lonely at the top because you're overseeing everything, you're running the whole business, but you
Yep.
also can never be above any of the different critical tasks that need to get done in order to keep the business running the way that you've designed it. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
lead
for
the
you, it's
example.
like, like cleaning the toilet, like doing all the things that you need to do because it's a reflection on you and your business. So
Oh
you
yeah.
can't be above that. Um, I laugh too, given, that I have been surrounded by entrepreneurs my entire life, and I've seen the hard work and the long days and the late nights and the weekends and early mornings and all of the things that go into working hard for something that you believe in and having that success. And years ago, a friend of mine was in business with someone that he quickly learned he shouldn't have been in business with
Oh
because this guy was um, telling people, like their mutual friends, that he was the CEO. And he was like, it's so great. Like, I don't have to do anything.
my god.
And we were like, that's like the opposite of what you should be doing. So, yeah, you definitely are working very, very hard all the time.
Someone's got to do it, but the nice thing is of what we've built here is the time. I do
Mhm.
have more time for my family. So from a
Mm.
balancing act, I'm able to come to work in the morning, and then during pickup time, I'm there for my family, and I owe a lot of this honestly to my team
Mhm.
that enabled me to do that.
Yeah, well, hiring good people and then, like you said, letting them go to do the job that you hired them to do. I mean, there's nothing worse than a micromanager. I mean, at least for me,
Yep.
I've never thrived in an environment where someone has tried to micromanage me. And as a result, my management style is very much hands off. It's like, here's the job that you were hired to do. I'm here to help you, along the way. But ultimately, like, this is your role. Go for it. Like, do what you know how to do. If you need me to step in because you're at a standstill, I'm happy to, but I'm not going to sit there and check every little item that you're doing every day because otherwise, how am I going to grow? Right? How am I going to
Yep.
continue all of this? And what's that ultimately going to do for you and your growth? Nothing, right? Who wants to be managed like that? So you mentioned a while back, and I know you and I have had talks about this personally before, your involvement with law enforcement, and not only, in the greater Folsom area, but I know that you still also have some involvement in the Davis area where we grew up. So tell me how that all started and how that kind of became one of the core tenets of your business.
Well, so if you walk into my store, the first thing you'll see is we have a thin blue line flag, and
Hmm.
we have the picture of Officer Natalie Corona that
Hmm.
was given to me by her family as a thank you. But it's really started in Davis, being a jewelry store, and we had those bike cops.
Yeah.
I just made friends with people in the department to the
Hmm.
point that I was invited to some of their parties. I was like the
Hmm.
only one that's not a cop.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
one of them, Officer Sanchez, she used to work for Davis. It's like a big sister to me. So
Oh.
I've always had that respect for what they do, what it means when they lace up their boots that morning.
Yeah.
So coming here, I did the same thing. My first store was across the street from the police station. So I
Okay.
did see a lot of folks in law enforcement coming across and just meeting them. And we have an amazing police department here in Folsom.
Mhm.
In 2018, I was asked by Citizen Watch USA. They
Mhm.
were launching a thin blue line watch, which was at that time the person that originally designed it is from New Jersey.
Okay.
Chicago just opened up. I was the one in California. I was the chosen one in
Awesome.
California to be their brand ambassador,
Okay.
and that was a game changer for us.
Mhm.
The caveat was you're not from an inventory standpoint, you're not going to make money on it. And you
Okay.
say that to a jeweler,
Uh-huh.
you're like, wait, what? You want me to sell something? I'm not going to make money. I understood the value of it right away
Mhm.
and why it was created to begin with. And, we're going really strong. So I am the president of our police foundation here in
Okay.
Folsom.
Awesome.
And I'm also involved with the sheriff's department in El Dorado County and Sacramento County. So no, I respect what our men and women do in law enforcement
Mhm.
and the sacrifice, not just them but their whole family have to
Absolutely.
go through. It's sad that through this program I knew way too many widows.
Mm.
So that's typically one of the first things that I do when someone in the area unfortunately passes away. We try to raise funds and I donate one of those watches.
Oh, that's
I,
nice.
yeah, but it's a crazy world out there.
It is. It
But
is.
we're very proud of that partnership that we have with
Yeah,
law enforcement.
I think it's wonderful. I mean, I just over well last Friday, I helped out one of my girlfriends who's a small business owner. She had a pop up tent at the Country in the Park,
Yeah,
concert that they do out in Cal Expo, and it was funny. Her tent ended up being right smack in the middle of all of the different law enforcement tents that were there having booths to like talk to young folks as they were coming
trying to
through.
recruit. Yep, I have a
Yeah,
few friends out there.
and it was funny to me because I was like, well, I'm like, we're in good company,
Yep,
we're like
pretty safe.
smack in the middle. But it was neat to see how many people were visiting those booths. I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the officers, and he was saying that recruitment numbers have been down, but they're starting to see an uptick in people becoming more interested in law enforcement again. And so events like those were really beneficial for them to be able to be out and interacting with the community and feeling like people have like it's a comfortable place for people to come and ask questions. And
Yeah,
uh,
law enforcement in general, especially in the state of California, have struggled.
mhm,
With everything that we went through during the pandemic,
mhm,
and just the rhetoric on against law enforcement.
mhm.
So I'm glad that that's changing,
Me
and
too.
we're just doing our best as community members, right? So
Yeah.
if you have a good law enforcement agency, everybody benefits. The town is
100.
safer. The cost of homes are higher. Business will thrive.
Mhm.
So you got to support them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Thanks for asking that question.
Of course, of course. I mean, I've always thought it was one of the great pieces of your business and how you guys operate. So back to a business. So here's a business question that's been floating through my head. So, given the jewelry itself, what is the average customer, I guess? Like how often are people buying jewelry? I imagine there's some people who it's like every Christmas or every birthday for their wife or their daughter or their son or their husband, whatever, whoever is the big jewelry fan. But then for some people, it's probably every few years. I mean, what are your statistics on that just based on your experience?
So business wise, because our model is so different than most jewelry stores, when you walk into a typical jewelry store, wall to wall they have inventory.
Yeah.
I purposely have four cases because I never want it to be about, like I mentioned earlier, about what I
Mhm.
have. I want it to be
Okay.
about what you want.
Sure.
So we are known in our area as custom jewelers
Hmm.
because we can literally make you anything. And
Yeah.
we talk about repurposing, right?
Yeah.
So an average, so definitely bread and butter for us is going to be repairs. That's number
Mhm.
one,
Okay.
and bridal.
Uh-huh.
We are big on bridal. People will drive as far as the Bay Area
Wow.
because and it's not even about the price. It's about that experience.
Okay.
I
And
can't
so
emphasize
referrals,
enough.
right?
I, well, I can't emphasize enough for entrepreneurs that have a brick and mortar. That word of mouth. You can spend all the money you want on
Mhm.
advertising. Ultimately, it's a word of mouth,
Mhm.
and your online presence too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so, but yeah, anniversaries are big for us, and birthdays. Obviously, the big anniversaries, the
Yeah.
5, the 10 year, 20, 25. Those are huge for us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even think about the evolution of my mom's rings over the years, you know?
Oh, and upgrades too. That's what's
Yeah.
that's what's amazing. I mean, I've had some clients in my 25 year in this industry. It's my 25th year this year that I'm on my third upgrade with them.
Mhm.
So we have a program where you can, the diamond that you sold to us, will give you a trade in and put it towards a bigger rock.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, I love
whatever
that.
makes them happy, right?
No, but I love that I love what you said from the beginning of answering that question. You said it's not about what can I sell you? It's about what can I make you? Or like what is
Yep.
it? It's not about what I have, it's about what is it that you want. And I
Yep.
love that perspective because it's just a little shift in words, right? It's just a
Yep.
little shift in mindset cuz like ultimately like you have a lot. So it's like here's all the things that I have, but it's more about like what is it that you want and giving kind of empowering your customer to say like, oh well, I do really like this, or this has always been like a dream of mine, and then you're like, okay cool, we can make it, like let's make that, it's so neat to me.
Years ago, I heard Gary Vaynerchuk talk, really emphasize that if you just start helping people,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
So with that mindset, it's been, there's no pressure on our
Yeah.
end. My There's no pressure on my team to perform. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
will perform anyways naturally. It just happens organically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more focused on, let's build a relationship. Maybe I'm not the right fit for you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we're not the right jeweler for you.
Yeah.
So luckily, I'd say 90% of the time, we're
Mm-hmm.
and we're not in a high traffic area.
Right.
We're like in an old neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So when folks come to us, they've looked us up already. They're referred to us. They already, it's already automatically that 50% chance that they'll do business with us
Mm-hmm.
because they came all the way
Yeah.
to come see us.
Yeah, they put in the effort to get there.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. I mean, again, it's a big investment. It's for some people, it's probably the most money that they've spent on anything, like aside from maybe a house or a car. I mean,
100%. To most, to most young men and young
Mhm.
ladies
Yeah.
that are proposing, this is their biggest purchase before
Yeah.
buying a house. So
Definitely. I know. I mean, I love it. I feel like I have like I'm like a walking billboard for your jewelry, whether it's just like a gold chain that something's hanging on, or if it's a necklace or earrings. I'm all or like the rings you've reinforced for me when you're like, this was made like crap, even though it's all real. Let me reinforce it so you don't lose these diamonds.
I should start giving you a piece of jewelry and have my logo on the right
Yeah,
side of your screen over here. Over here.
seriously. Oh my gosh, I know, but it is great. So, what would your advice be for a young or aspiring, doesn't matter if they're young or not, because I feel like we're constantly reinventing ourselves. I know.
Yep.
I feel like at, 46 I'm just getting started. So, what would your advice be for an aspiring entrepreneur, who's got the idea, who's got the grit but hasn't made that final leap yet?
Just do it. A lot of times, I think, when I was younger, I thought the biggest hurdle was money, and
Mhm.
I learned instantly that it wasn't.
Mhm.
And I think if you have an idea, or you want to get into a specific field or business, start looking into it now. I mean, as early as
Mhm.
high school. Find a mentor.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there. That's one thing I learned, getting older and meeting a lot of business owners, is that
Mhm.
we are all giving.
Yep.
We want the next generation to succeed,
Mhm.
and we're there to help.
Mhm.
And yeah, so if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, whatever business you want to get into, start now. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. You can do it as small as, something out of your garage, to, eventually it will just grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question of how bad do you want it.
Yep.
I wanted this badly.
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I mean, yeah, I really couldn't.
That's
This
so
is,
cool.
I'm living my dream. I'm living
Yeah.
my dream, and I'm just so thankful that I've had the support all these years from all the relationships that I've built over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
but you got to start young. I mean, been doing this since 18. I'm
Yeah.
44 this year.
I know. I mean, I love what you said about the mentors, because that certainly is one thing in my life that I feel so incredibly thankful
Yep.
for. I refer to my network slash list of mentors as like my eclectic group, because I feel like I'm so fortunate to have very wildly successful people a part of my life, but in all from all different types of business and background and everything. And one of the things that I've definitely learned and has been reinforced more by going through this Techstars program, with the group I'm currently consulting for, is that there's so many people out there and they're so willing to give advice. So if
Yep.
going back to that, brief touch on preparedness, like we talked about earlier, if you go to any of these people and you're like, hey, here's what I want to discuss, here's the problems I'm having, here are the hurdles I feel like I'm facing, they're so willing to sit and talk with you and work you through it. I mean, I have one mentor, and one of the things I love so much about him is that he's incredibly responsive, always willing to give me time, but we're very efficient. So it's like
Yeah.
I'll text him and I'll say, hey, here's what I'm, working on right now. Here's what I'd like your advice on. He'll say, call me in 10 minutes. I'll call him. There's literally no niceties. It's like he knows I'm doing fine. I know he's doing fine. And it's like, all right, let's dive right in. And he's like, all right, let me know how it goes, and just done. And I'm like, hey, I appreciate that, because I'll take anything I can get. And I think that you have to be, as the one who's aspiring, as the one who's chasing your goals, you have to be the one to come prepared, but
Yep.
ask, right? I mean, again, another thing my dad's always told me, you don't ask, you don't get. So
That's right. Oh, I mean, like, it's funny you mentioned that. You and I talked about this before. So you and I both we know Mark Haney,
mhm,
and I've always watched his podcast.
yeah,
And I don't know, one day I just felt like, you know what, I have a story to tell. So
yeah,
I cold called him. I reached out on LinkedIn.
uh-huh,
He said, let's hop into a Zoom call. Within 5 minutes, he goes, you know what, let's book you. I want to hear more of your story.
uh-huh.
And next, I'm in this show.
I love it.
Next thing you know, I am one of the sponsors of the very first Growth GFX, Growth
Yeah.
Factory Experience. So I mean, that was a game changer for me. I was gonna say too, be okay being uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Sometimes, as scary as it may be, that's how you're gonna overcome that.
Yeah.
And before, I had some. I wouldn't say I was uncomfortable, but it was different for me to be involved or surround myself with other people in different industries, because I feel like, well, like, I don't know much about tech. I can talk about
Hmm.
jewelry and
Uh-huh.
tequila all day
Yeah,
long,
we're
right?
gonna get to the tequila part.
But but honestly, ever since I've been involved with GFX, I've met so many people in different sectors.
Hmm.
Um, I've gotten involved in local, investing in local companies
Hmm.
that never in my life I thought I'd be doing,
Hmm.
and just you gotta keep growing that network,
Yeah.
and it's so
Well,
much fun.
it's so much fun. And I think too, what you said about being uncomfortable really resonates, because I often remind myself this, but what I also try to coach other people in is that at the end of the day, like, nobody really cares what it is that you're doing. It's like we have this feeling where it's like, oh my gosh, what are other people going to think? Or are other people watching me and talking about me? But if you are honest with yourself, at the end of the day, at night, when you're going to bed, you're thinking about yourself. And I'm
Yep.
sure if you're a parent, like you're thinking about your kids, but like,
Yep.
even there are times where like you're like, okay, the kids are good, they're asleep. Like, what do I have to do tomorrow? Like, what's going on with me? You're not sitting there analyzing every single one of your friends or your network, going, oh, well, so and so is this, so and so is that. So I think it's so important to remind ourselves of that, because then we can just go out, put ourselves out into the world,
Yep.
not give a shit, and see what comes of it. Because if
Yep.
you're not putting yourself out there, no one's going to know who you are. I mean, I talk about this with some of my girlfriends with dating. I mean, dating is not fun, but I also am acutely aware that like the man of my dreams is not going to knock on my door and be like, hi, here I am. So it's like, you have to put yourself out there. It just is so transferable across all aspects of life.
I have a catalog here.
If it were that easy, if it were that easy. Oh my gosh. So wait, you mentioned tequila, and that was going to be one of my
I did.
final
It's too
questions
early.
for you. Well, it's never too early for tequila, right?
I mean,
Exactly.
it is.
So tell me about tequila. Tell me how this became such a passion of yours, and why you are now the tequila guy, as well as being the jewelry guy.
So shout out to our fellow Blue Devil, Joe Horrigan,
Uh-huh.
also known in the industry as Tequila Joe.
Yes.
So Joe and I've known Joe since I was 18, and his brother Sam Horrigan was my roommate. But eventually Joe became my roommate too. He got into tequila, like
Okay.
really into it, and all of a sudden has had a bad experience, right? When we were
Hmm.
younger, drinking Cuervo.
Oh,
And
I
as
have a
Joe
bad
got into it,
experience with Cuervo as
you and I have gotten to, bad experience with that. So
well.
first time I drank an ultra fine tequila was with Joe. He introduced me to Patron Platinum. It came out. It just
Hmm.
came out then, and I had no idea what 100% agave was.
Hmm.
So, long story short, on my 25th birthday, Cantina del Cabo, shout
Yeah.
out to Cantina. Um, I had a lot of shots. I was I was feeling it. I was happy, but
Sure.
not belligerent. Like it was different. Like if you're mixing all the drinks, but all I had was tequila, and I woke up the next day with no hangover. And Joe really educated me on, Adrian. If you drink only 100% agave, apparently Cuervo was only 51%. The
Okay.
other 49 are all the extra added additives,
Oh,
the sugars, the syrup, whatever. That gives us a headache,
yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
100% agave doesn't give you a hangover. Uh, it's good for your gut. It's a probiotic.
That's something I
Um,
just learned from you this morning. I'm thrilled to know that.
so I just I embraced it as much as hanging around with Tequila Joe all this time.
Hmm.
You just that's what we did when we were living together in Davis. We were doing tasting just by
Hmm.
ourselves, or he would host one.
Okay.
So coming to Folsom, I've already at this point now I was in my 30s, and I've literally since 25 only drank tequila. I stopped drinking beer, wine. I wanted to kind of find my fellow tequileros, and I
Yeah.
did. And we started the Folsom Agave Club.
I love it.
And, we're on Facebook, we're growing. And it's fun for me to share my passion
Of course.
uh, of tequila and agave. And if you come to my store, you'll see I have a beautiful agave garden outside.
Hmm.
And yeah, they're like my babies. I talk to them,
Yeah, I
I
think
peek
that's
through my
so
window.
cool.
But
That's so
no,
cool.
I've met so many amazing folks along the way, and it's there's something magical meeting people that share the same passion as you. Uh,
Definitely.
Rolando Navarro in Woodland, and Ernesto Delgado, Ernesto Jimenez. These guys, they're the owner of Zocalo and Mayawel.
Oh, okay.
Um, those guys have been so influential
Hmm.
to me in my journey of embracing agave.
I
You
love
know,
that.
I say agave now because I gotta show some love to mezcal.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm here. I'm with
Tequila is
you.
a mezcal.
I've had some mezcal cocktails. Sometimes it's a
Yes,
little too smoky for me. So next time I
it
come visit you,
is.
you'll have to, you know, teach me a little more about it.
Oh yeah, it's it's like practice. The more you practice, the more you'll get better at it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love it. Well, this has been such an enjoyable conversation. Is there any sort of social handles or anything you'd like to share so people can find you and come check out what you guys are all about?
You can find us on Instagram and everywhere else at Adrian Blanco Jewelry and
Awesome.
or at Adrian the Jeweler.
Yeah,
So you
I
can see all
love
my
it.
shenanigans that I don't post on my business profile.
I love it. You're always out and about doing something. So lots to be
Well,
learned
Nikki,
from networking.
congratulations to you. I think
Thank
what you
you.
created here, this outlet for entrepreneurs and business owners to get into and talk about what we do and our passion is amazing. And I really want to thank you for that. And I want to thank
Wonderful.
you for our friendship all these years.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your sharing your story. And I know I'll see you soon because my mom said she needs to make a visit. So I will come with her.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Thank
Adrian,
you.
have a great day. Thanks so much.
Salud.